Hello chess friends and welcome to Azarov's chess channel and welcome to my Basics in Chess series. So in this series we see opening principles, middle game strategies and middle game planning and the end game strategy. Today I wanted to show you again a very important principle in the chess openings and it's so-called moving the piece twice in the opening. So when you're playing an opening, it really works for any opening that you play. You should really follow some basic principles while doing that. So let's remind us again what are the three stages in the common chess opening. So of course the most important thing is to develop this minor pieces, so the bishops, the knights. So you should of course place them on the best squares that you can. And the second phase of the opening is to castle, and the third phase is to move the queen from the first rank and to connect the rook. So this here by white would be a very good opening setup. Here the bishops are active, the knights are active, we have a rook connection, we have a secure king. But when you want to place your bishops so active like here, and if you want to place your knights on the best squares, you should follow this principle of not moving the piece twice on the opening. So in order to develop the pieces, you should develop them by just simply moving the piece once at a time. So you see now in a couple of examples when opponents played twice in the opening with the same piece and get punished because of that, because if you move the piece, it has to mean something. You see, if you move it twice in the opening, you have to at least improve the position or at least create some threats. So let's see now the first example. Here it's a game played by Ernst Schipke against Volker van Dorp. And here Ernst Schipke with the white pieces played the move d4. Here we have c5. Okay, it's the old Benoni defense, and d5. It's perfectly fine. Still common theory. We haven't played with the pieces so far. So knight on f6. We have now c4. Now we transpose in the common Benoni. And here black played knight on e4. And you see this move is not forced. We haven't played even bishop on g5. It is the so-called vulture defense, but it doesn't bring so much. I think if you play this move, if you play this opening correctly, I don't think that you have troubles here. And Schipke played simply a developing move, knight on f3. Simply he played so far once with the piece. If you have noticed, black has played twice with the knight. So first on f6 and then on e5. And here black tried queen on a5 with the pin, and here you see white tries knight on d2, and if maybe knight on d2, then you see we can play simply bishop on d2 again. The queen has to move, and now we have basically forced black to do queen move twice. So now we can play maybe bishop on c3 or knight on c3, and you see we have developed two pieces, two minor pieces. Black hasn't developed any of his minor pieces, so we would have a really nice opening activity, while black will still have troubles in order to develop. So here after knight from f to d2, you see, okay, we have played twice with our piece also, but you see it comes with a threat. Here g6 was played, and now queen on c2 again with the attack. So that's why f5 was played, and now f3. And you see now black moves the knight for the third time, and here of course white uses this moment and plays this very annoying gambit line with b4. You see again now we have another queen move, so the queen has now moved twice, first from d8 to a5 and now to b4, and you see we can use this moment and create an attack on the rook, really mess up with black's possibility to castle. So here rook on g8 had to be played, and now here simply e3 with the preparation to develop the bishop and creating so also some nasty attacks. So here black tried b5, and here bishop on e5 with an attack on this knight on d6, because the knight on d6 is the key defender or an attacker of this c4 square. So that's why knight on c4, bishop on c4, and you see again a knight move. Again black moved now for the fourth time the knight. Here bishop on c4 was played. We have b takes c4, and now knight on c3, and you see now let's evaluate the position now of the opening. Okay, we are pawn down, but we have now developed all of our minor pieces. We have removed the queen from the first rank, so we have basically finished two of these phases in the opening. What we have to do is just to castle, and we have really finished the development. Here d6 was played, but now rook on b1 with an attack on the queen. Queen on a5, and now knight on c4. Again, we see when you're moving the piece twice, at least it has to come with an attack. So here, queen on d8 was played, and let's see now the position. You see all of the pieces are on the 8th rank. So it basically happened with this pawn down. White has a huge advantage in activity. Here, all of the pieces are really paralyzed by black. And here, of course, now bishop on g3 was played, and I hope you realize that white has a huge compensation for the pawn. Here, black will have many troubles in order to develop, but let's see now the continuation. Bishop on g7 was played. Here, knight on b5, and you see this moving the piece twice comes again with an attack. The attack is, of course, this on this pawn on the d6. Knight on a6 was played. Queen on a4 with some discovered checks possibilities. Here black tried king on f8, and now castling by white. And you see we have now really finished all of our 3 stages in the opening. We have played with all of our minor pieces. We have a rook connection, we have a secured king, we have the queen very actively into the game. Bishop on d7 is not possible because the knight on a6 is hanging here. Knight on c7 was played, and now very nice sacrifice. Knight takes on d6, we have knight on d5, and now queen on c6. And here I don't want to show you the whole game, but I hope you realize that black is really paralyzed here because he moved in the opening the queen for the 3rd time. He moved his knight 4 times, so he lost in this battle of this fast development and got punished because of that. So let's see now another example. Here we have the so-called Mykonos defense against d4. Okay, it is playable, but you can simply push forward. d5, again forcing your opponent to play with the same piece twice. Knight on e5, and here knight on c3. And of course black will try to kick away your advantage in space, and here we can play simply d takes e6, f takes e6, and now e4. And here b6 was played with the preparation to play the move bishop on b7, but now bishop on f4. And again, you forcing now your opponent to play for the 3rd time with the knight on g6 was played, and it comes with an attack on the bishop, but it really just improves the position of the bishop because now the bishop is really fixed here. It's aiming on this very weak square of c7. Bishop on b7 was played, and now knight on f3. You see white is simply continuing to develop. Now we have all 3 minor pieces out. Here black has still troubles in order to castle. Knight on f6, bishop on e7, and castling, so you need 3 more moves in order to do that. Here knight on f6 was played, and now you see knight on b5. And that's my point. When you play with your piece twice, at least it has to mean something. At least you have to do it with some threats. So of course the threat is knight on c7 with a fork on the king and the rook. So that's why d6 had to be played. And you see now knight on g5. When you play with the same piece twice, I'm repeating myself. I just wanted to really for you to settle. Here knight on g5 with an attack on the pawn on e6. So that's why here queen on e7, and now you have some tactics. Knight takes on e6. You cannot of course take because you get the fork on c7 and you lose the queen. So that's why rook on c8 was played, and now simple knight on c7. And in this position black resigned because his whole defense is really messed up. Here we have also the d6 pawn weakness, so it's game over here. So you see, when you I'm repeating, when you playing with the same piece twice, it has to come with an attack. Don't do that like in this game. In this opening, you see in the 3rd move black moved the knight twice without any attack. Okay, it was sort of a positional threat to mess up somehow white's development, but you see after knight on d6 here the knight has moved many times without counterplay, without any threats, and black got punished because of that. So let's see now this closed Sicilian attack with this Grand Prix attack. Here we have e4 c5. I just want you to again show you some this principle in two examples how you should play. Here e4 c5. So still common theory, knight on c3. I'm pointing you out that white has played now with this knight once. So here knight on c6, we have f4, the Grand Prix attack, we have g6, knight on f3, here bishop on g7, and now bishop on b5. So you see white has played only once with all of his pieces, and here black tries this move, knight on d4, moving the piece twice, again with an attack on the bishop on b5. And here in the game against between Rainer Gonzalez and against Benjamin Feingold, here's also a very nice chess teacher. He has many good videos on YouTube. I watch also his videos. Here he played knight on d4, and here white simple castle, because he has now the secured bishop, and he has only played with the bishop once. So you see the knight has played already twice, knight on c6, knight on d4, and here Ben Feingold simply took, and here knight on b5 was played, and I hope it is an equal position, but here white is simply 3 more moves far away from fully development. Maybe d3, bishop on e3, and moving the queen to e2. So you see 3 more moves, and we have really finished the development. Black will have many troubles here to develop, and here Ben Feingold tries to move d5. He takes d5. Of course, you cannot with the take with the queen. Here a6 was played, kicking away the knight, knight on c3, knight on f6, and now d4. We have knight takes on d5, we have d takes c5, and now knight on c3, queen takes on d8, king takes on d8, we have b takes c3, bishop takes on c3, and now rook on b1. And okay, white has lost the bishop pair, but we have now an endangered king. The king is here really under fire. We have now the equal material, still possibilities to play actively with the rook. Here the bishop hasn't played so far, and we would have the problem of the connection of the rook. So let's see the continuation. King on c7 was played, rook on b3 with an attack on the bishop, bishop on f6, here bishop on d2, bishop on e6, and now simple in between check, bishop on a5, king on c6 was played, now rook on b6, of course, king takes, and now knight on d2. Very strong idea with the preparation to play knight on e4. Bishop on d5 was played, and now of course you see again a very annoying attack here. c4, we have bishop on c6, and now rook on d1 with the preparation now maybe to play knight on b3. That's why king on d6 was played, and you see we have now the double check here. King on c7 had to be played, and now knight takes on f6, e takes on f6, and now rook on b2 with this discovered check. We have very annoying stuff. You see black doesn't have any good squares for the king, so here if he goes to king on g8, then we can play simply bishop on b6, and here really paralyze black's position and really occupy the d5. So that's why b6 was played, bishop takes on b6, and now you see again black doesn't have any good squares for the king. Now rook on d6, bishop on a4, rook on b4, attacking the bishop, and here we white simply move forward. And again, I don't want you to show you the whole game. I just wanted to point you out that this moving the pieces twice, you see black didn't castle in this position. Black went for this attack on the bishop. And let's go back now to this critical moment of the opening. Here, as said, we have knight on d4 with an attack, and white simply castled. Here in this example, after white castled, black played I think a better move with the move a6. Now he forced because after bishop on b5, the threat was of course to create some doubling pawn situations here after d takes c6 or b takes c6. So that's why, okay, it's a good now to play knight on d4. At least we got out of this positional threat by white. But after castling, we can now force white to do another move with the piece, with the move a6. And now you see the bishop doesn't have good squares. It has to play twice again. So here bishop on d3 had to be played, and now we can play simply d6. So in this game, it's an example played by Jean-Marc Dagrive against Etienne Bacro. Here d6 simply played, so you see black is trying to simply develop as fast as he can. He is trying to castle and secure the king, so really finish his development without moving the knight for the third time. Here knight takes on d4 was played, and now c takes d4, knight on e2 was played, and I hope you realize this is now, I think, a simply better position here for black, because you don't have any threat so far. You have really occupied your opponent's half of the board with the move d4, and still white has troubles to develop this dark square bishop. You have to move b3, or then again, or bishop on b2, or try something like c3 in order to really undermine black's positional advantage of this advanced pawn on d4. So here black simply continues, you see, with the fast development, with some healthy moves. Knight on f6, king on h1 was played, and now knight on d7. This is now another move by the knight, but it's obvious that we are preparing this knight on c5. It comes with a threat, so it means it's a good move. At least we are challenging now this very weak bishop on d3, and if we grab the bishop on d3, we would then have a really annoying pawn structure here, a double pawn situation. This d3 would be a long-term weakness, so that's why here white tried the move b4. The move b4 is of course preventing this knight on c5 ideas, but it also weakens a little bit here the queen side. So that's why here queen on b6 was played, using this moment in order to attack this pawn. Here c3 was played, and now of course d takes c3. We have d takes c3, but now the bishop is really deadly here. We have now a backward pawn, and I hope you realize that black has come out of this opening very nice, because he didn't take in this particular moment this bishop. I think it's a better line here after knight on d4. You see, after castling, now to play the move a6, again forcing white to do another piece move, and here really we have now a very well cemented knight on d4. Okay, I hope you realize this idea. When you're playing this opening, try to not move the same piece twice. If you do that, if you move the piece twice, at least do it with some attacks, with some positional threats, at least some threats, not just to move the piece and get kicked away with some pawns and losing some many tempos in the opening. So you saw in this first example that really black got punished because he made 4 moves with the knight and 4 moves with the queen, and he got really crushed in the opening. Okay, I hope you realize these ideas, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Meanwhile, you can watch my other basics in chess videos from the series with some opening principles, middle game strategies, and the end game strategies. And you can also watch my how to spot chess tactics videos, in which I try to help you to understand the common position in which tactical possibilities are present, in which you should really be familiar with some tactical possibilities. And you can also watch my chess tactics and chess puzzle series, in which I show you all of the possible tactical motifs that can happen in the chess game. And you can also subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.